Hi everyone, this is a DIY tutorial for a manifold clean Gen 4 common rail. So I'm Rudy, this is my son Michael.
Howdy.
We're going to show you what tools we need to start with, and then we'll get into it. So we'll flip this around. No, I'll turn this off, then we'll flip it around. Tools required. Obviously you don't need cordless ratchets, but if it doesn't have a key or it doesn't have a battery, I'm not interested in using it. So we've got 10mm with a couple of different size length extension bars. May not need the extension bars, but handy to have. Then we've got the 12mm with two extension bars. We have a 14mm. Then we have a 17mm ratchet ring spanner. Can be just a normal ring spanner or even open ender. We've got a 14, same again. We've got a pair of pliers. We have a torch. Non-essential is the 10 and the 12mm. We probably won't use these. More non-essentials. With this particular vehicle, we'll use these. It's got dual battery, but generally you wouldn't need these either. Okay, and of course fender guard and gloves. I'm not sure where my gloves are, but I'll get them just now. First thing we're going to do is take the engine cover off. We're going to take your intercooler pipework off that runs to your throttle body, and we're going to put an inspection camera down through the throttle body to see if this actually needs a clean or not. So just getting the inspection camera in to have a look and see if this needs a clean. So there we are there, and we've got to go past the EGR because that's where all the grot is. I don't know how well you're going to see this on camera, but that is pretty darn clagged. So we definitely need to give this one a clean. Okay, now that we've ascertained that we need to give the manifold a clean, I'm going to push the car out and give the engine bay degrease, so we're working with a cleaner environment, get all the dust and grime and dirt out of the way. Things you'll need are your cleaning products. So we've got a degreaser. We want to degrease the engine before we even start, so we've got a nice clean area to be working with. And because this is a DIY tutorial, we're not going to use the robo wash, we're going to use oven cleaner. Now I've used this stuff before, I've not used this one. So this one's non-caustic. This one doesn't say that it's non-caustic, so if this is caustic, I would assume this will work better, but not great for the environment. So the first couple of times that I did this, I pulled off way too much stuff, which isn't an issue, but this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do it with removing the least amount of stuff possible. Okay, so here we go. We'll take the battery out first. Dual battery on this one, so a little bit of extra work, but not much. We're all nice and clean here now. So first thing I'm going to do in this section is take all the wiring off, which is pretty straightforward. Little clips on there. This one was already broken off before we got to it. These clips do break off. If they do, then we'll just cable tie the wire back on so I don't get too stressed. One tool I forgot to mention is a flat blade screwdriver. Will be handy because it's a little bit easier. Can you see that, Michael? Yep. A little bit easier to get in there with the screwdriver to unplug the injectors. You won't see this one, mate, but that's okay. Now obviously pay attention to where everything goes here, but it's everything when you fall it into place, it sort of lines up, so it's not too difficult. Now instead of unclipping these ones, which I break just about all the time, I actually just take the bracket off. That way we retain the factory look when it's all back together and we haven't broken any clips. Okay, so we'll come around here. There's, Michael, if you can see here, underneath the pipe, which I should have removed again. I'll put that back onto degrees. So we've got a cable here. We've got a clip just here. If you can see this one, which I'll, rather than unclip here, I will unscrew here. Now this little clamp here, I can show you with the screwdriver. I usually do it with my thumb. Can you see that there? Okay, so we just lift that tab up and then we pull it out. Okay, so these ones here are nice and easy, and then we can reuse them. Okay, so we'll shut the video off in just a second. I'll get the rest of these cables out the way and show you the next step. Just missed a step. Should have taken this one off before removing the wiring, just for easier access to the rear injectors. So I'll just do that now. These 12mm bolts are all different sizes. I know where every one of them goes, but you really want to pay attention to where they came off. So I don't know if you want to get a bit of cardboard and mark where they go, or however you'd like to do it. But what I tend to do, just so I don't muck up as well, is I try and put them on the sill panel here as close to the job as possible. So I know that these go directly here. And then we've got the two nuts here for the EGR crossover pipe, which we've already removed, which we put corresponding to where they go. Makes it a bit easier. Well, we're going to undo the fuel lines. You will get a little bit of diesel coming out of here. Now you'll pull on that and it won't go. Just get your pliers, give it a little bit of a twist. Loosen it off and then it'll come off, okay? Same with this one, give it a twist and then we can pull it off. Now I'll be removing this as well. Let's do right now. Can't see much, unfortunately. This vehicle's got quite a few accessories. And set up quite nicely, but the trade-off is, you know, you've got a lot of extra wires and what have you. So now, this is your map sensor pipe. Now I sit this, I don't bother taking it all the way out. I usually sit this here. It's not going to sit too well because of the second battery, but I usually just sit everything in this corner. The wiring that I've pulled off, I've pushed all into this corner. The filter I push into this corner. I will actually just disconnect this cable here so I can push it further into the corner, and then I've got a nice working area here. Okay, so I've decided to remove the filter altogether, but just simply because the tray's there, just giving it a little bit more room to work here. It's not going to keep falling where I'm working. So my next step is I'm going to remove the EGR and the EGR pipe work. Okay, so we've got a gasket under here, so we'll lift this off. Okay, so that's your EGR off. You might find one, but let's have a quick look here. It's pretty clean there. I think CJ might have mentioned that he cleaned that actually recently. CJ's the owner of this vehicle. Okay, so EGR is off. Let's have a quick peekaboo in there, Michael.
Have we got the torch here?
Yeah, just a second. We can see a little bit of build up in there. It's no real indicator. So your inspection camera is not a hard and fast. This is the upper manifold section. It's the lower manifold that usually gets quite clogged. So it's really an indication. We might actually pull all this off and find it's not as clogged as we think. But unfortunately, we need to get in there. Inspection camera is just a guide. If this was perfectly clean, then we wouldn't touch it. Next step, throttle body has got to come off. There's a 12mm bolt underneath that holds this upper manifold on, so we need to remove this to get to it. Once we've removed this, we'll undo that 12mm bolt, and then there's two 12mm bolts here. This is 2008 NS, so an NW, for example, has three 12mm bolts here. The EGR bolts, if I didn't mention, were 14mm and then 12mm for the support. We'll take the throttle body off. Okay, all the gaskets are metal. As long as you don't damage them, they can be reused. Okay. Okay, so just going to pull this lead off that leads to the common rail, and we're just going to push it out the way for the time being. So the other end is plugged into the common rail. This is your common rail here. You've got your pipes leading from your injectors to the common rail, and then from your pump to the common rail as well. So that lead out of the way, then need to undo this 12mm and this 12mm to get the fuel line pipe out of the way, and also this vacuum pipe. So we'll pull that off first. We'll have to give her a bit of a twist. 300 k's roughly on this car, so I don't think too much has been touched for a while. And we'll take this off. We see here the difference between the bolt sizes. So this is where it's important. You need to know where all the bolts go. So we have that one there and this one here. And then this fuel line we shall tuck out of the way here. Okay. Now what I generally do, if I'm picking up the 12mm, I'll use it for all the 12mm bits, but because I'm showing this as a tutorial, I want to show you step by step. But while we're at it, we will take this support bolt off, 12mm. Okay, and then this one being an NS Pajero has got two 12mm bolts. I already mentioned that actually, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. These bolts here came off the back, and once again, different length to that one, different length to that one. So pay attention on that. Now I've just noticed that this one is actually an upgraded manifold, and the reason I've noticed is we've got the map sensor nipple up here. The NS Pajero has a map nipple down here. This has been blocked off. So this upper manifold, the lower's factory. The lower one is original to this car. They're both factory. This one's probably an NT, maybe even an NW with the nipple there. Okay, so I've got the bolts off there, got the bolt off there. This is just about ready to come off. Now undo the dipstick. I usually undo the dipstick before I undo this one, sorry, but we'll undo that one. Another different size bolt, of course. Alright, so this is your upper manifold off. Let's have a look here. Alright, certainly not the worst I've ever seen. Definitely needs a clean, so, you know, at least the customer's getting value for money here. We've got another metal gasket, which we can reuse. Okay, I've got spare gaskets up on the shelf just in case I do damage one. It saves me from having to order one and inconvenience the customer by waiting longer. The dipstick is just the one bolt, so we can now pull the dipstick out, and I will show you a lot closer where that goes back in. You can't actually see the hole, but I can give you an indication of where it is. Now going to remove the injector piping. So we've got this pipe work here. This is a 14mm. We'll be taking that off. I'll do that right now while you're watching. and it's got copper washer. I replace that one every time. You may not need to, but I do. So that one off, I'll be unscrewing all of these 17mm, 17mm. Okay, and then we've got 10mm bolts here, 10mm bolts here. We've got one 10mm bolt just down here. And then we've got to get in here with the 17 as well, and we'll be removing all of this pipe work. The bolt that we pulled out of here is a banjo bolt. So you got a hole there, and you got a hole there. Allows the fluid to pass through. Okay.